How's it going, everybody? Nerds Rising here, and welcome back once again to the Nerd Cave. In today's video, I have for you guys a very strong team that I used to climb up to the expert rank with in the Willpower Cup. Now, if you guys have been playing the Willpower Cup, you've probably noticed that the entire meta is overrun by dark types. There are Mandabuzzes, Umbreons, Dark Poisons, Sableyes. They're just everywhere, and they're very strong, and it makes the Psychic types seem kind of like a second choice. And really, I don't think that's right, because there's only 3 typings allowed in the meta, and for some reason it always seems like whenever these limited metas come around, it's always like the Drapions and the Dark Poisons that just dominate, and this meta is no exception. But if you take a look at the team comp there, Alolan Raticate is going to be able to handle pretty much all the dark types in the meta, other than really Poniard and Obstagoon. But the backline is what's really important about this team. The backline obviously has to be strong against fighting, because Alolan Raticate gets absolutely destroyed by counter. But these Psychic types in the back can do very well against the common dark types you're going to see. Specifically Mandabuzz. Defenseoxys wins comfortably the 1 and 2 shield, and Charm Gothitelle can fully charm down a Mandabuzz and commit both shields, but you can get a shield back as well. And you're going to really be able to take back Switch if the opponent brings in a Mandabuzz to your Gothitelle. So, if I lose lead, I will be switching into whatever Psychic type has a worse matchup against the lead. And the goal is going to be to save 2 shields for the back Psychic type. And typically I will be safe switching the Defenseoxys and then saving 2 shields for the Charm Gothitelle. And as you're going to see, if the opponent has a Fighting type and a Dark type in the back, Charm Gothitelle can absolutely destroy it. So, despite the typing, this team is very safe, and I did climb up quite a bit. If you take a look at my elo there, we're at 2953. I believe I did stop using this team around 2900, but that's still 200 points of elo in a meta dominated by dark types. So what you're going to see here is some Psychic types putting some dark types in their place, and you have to love to see that. So let's get into the footage, and let's see what I was able to do with this team. So in the first battle here, we have a pretty neutral lead as Wireless into a Alolan Raticate. And I will be switching into the Defenseoxys here because it is my softer of the 2 counters. Counter is obviously single super effective, while Charm is going to be double. And the opponent actually lets me farm up a bit and then brings in a Drapion. So I should be able to get to 2 Rock Slides here, since it's a non-shadow, this Crunch will not KO. And the opponent actually commits a shield there, so they probably could have tanked both of our Rock Slides, but I think they just wanted to guarantee that they're going to be able to take Switch here. And I'm perfectly fine with the shield advantage here, because I know that 2 shield Gothitelle can do very well. So we fortunately do get to the second Rock Slide, and we're going to be doing some serious damage to this Drapion. As you see there, it's nearly at a 3rd health. And again, since it's not a shadow, that Crunch did not really put that Deoxys into a range where he could Poison Sting us down. So what I'm going to do here now is bring in this Alolan Raticate and just commit to a full farm down. And I'm really hoping that this is a Aqua-tailed Drapion. And sure enough, it is an Aqua-tailed Drapion, so we're not really going to be threatened by any of these moves. If we got double Sludge Bombed, I may have had to throw a Crunch there, but since it's just an Aqua-tail, we'll tank those for days. And we're going to come out here with a lot of energy loaded. And if the opponent brings back in this Wireless, we're up shield, so we're not baiting. We're going to full send a return here. And if the opponent doesn't shield a return, it will probably nearly one-shot this Wireless. So I throw one quick attack just to make sure it's this Wireless, and sure enough, we're going for the return here. Let's see if we can get a shield. And we actually get the last shield, and now I know Gothitelle is going to go to town here. They've got another Dark Poison in the back, but with 2 shields to 0, this Gothitelle is just going to charm its way through this team. I could probably, even if I wanted to shield charm down this Skuntank, but what I'm going to do instead is just throw this Rock Slide right away, preserve some HP, knowing that these double super effective charms are just going to absolutely shred this poor Wireless. And I'm guessing probably looks like 3 charms are going to handle this Wireless in. They do get to a move, but we've got a shield, and we're going to take game 1. And as you see there, they had a double Dark backline, and our double Psychic backline handled it. So good game 1. And the team is working just as it's supposed to here. So Sableye on the next lead here, and this is where we want to see it. But this is one Dark type that our backline, specifically Defenseoxys, does not really want to see. So what we're going to do here is we're going to farm up some energy, wait for the opponent to throw, and then I'm going to be bringing back in the Defenseoxys, because I know it doesn't really have a lot of play against the Sableye. So I don't necessarily want to commit a shield on the Deoxys, and what I know is that if I can get a shield advantage here, my 2 shield Gothitelle will be able to handle that Sableye pretty comfortably. So we'll tank this first foul play. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to 2 rock slides since the opponent is a little bit ahead on energy, but I'm going to do my best here. And again, I'm not going to commit a shield, so if he throws right away, he probably will be able to take us out. But the opponent actually shields the first rock slide, and that's huge for me because now I'm definitely not going to be shielding this. I'm going to be letting this go, and I'll be coming back in with the Alolan Raticate to take this out. So we take the foul play. Like I mentioned, Defenseoxys does win the 1 and 2 shield against the Mandibuzz, but when the Mandibuzz is ahead on energy, there's really no way to win it without committing multiple shields. So we throw the return here. This will probably not quite KO, it just barely does it, but we do farm down. And now we'll see if the Sableye comes back in, it doesn't, and there's actually a Medicham in the back. And now, as you're going to see here, again, Charm Gothitelle is just going to core break this backline, and I did expect there to be a fighter in the back. Reason being, the opponent brought a Mandibuzz into our Alolan Raticate right away, so I expected that there was something even stronger than that to counter our Alolan Raticate in the back. So I assumed it was going to be a fighter, and the fact that it's a Medicham is absolutely perfect. So as you see there, we charm down the Sableye, we come out with a lot of energy, we throw the Psychic on the Medicham, but unfortunately, those Shadow Claws, as you saw, did get us kind of low, so this is going to be a little bit tricky. And what even is worse here is we get baited with a Power-Up Punch, and now I'm worried that this opponent might be able to farm me down. And fortunately, he does throw energy, so if he would have farmed down there, he might have been able to throw a move at our Alolan Raticate and win, but he commits energy here, and now I safe switch, or excuse me, fast swap into my Raticate and throw this Crunch, and this should KO the Medicham. So a close endgame there. The fact that the opponent was running Power-Up Punch made that very sketchy. If that was an Ice Punch, I think we would have comfortably shielded it and then got to another move. But anyway, close game. But 2 shield Gothitelle put in a lot of work there again. And we've got a Wobbuffet in the next match, and this is a Charm Wobbuffet, so it's not double super effective, but guys, I don't know if you're seeing XL Wobbuffets, but these things are just absurdly thick. It's like a Chansey, but with better moves, basically. And as you see, the super effective crunches just do very little damage up. But I know, despite the fact that we're taking super effective damage, Wobbuffet's so defense weighted, these charms are really not threatening us that much. And I do need to get some super effective damage off before I bring in one of my back mons, because my back mons just have an absolutely miserable time with neutral damage against this thing. So we do get it very low. And as you see there, I don't shield that return because it just really doesn't do that much damage. And unfortunately, the opponent has an Umbreon, but the opponent actually overfarms and allows us to win CMP. So he could have thrown the foul play 1 turn earlier, but he lets us get to our move first, and he actually shields it. So a Rock Slide really wouldn't have done too much there, but I'm thinking the opponent probably was unfamiliar with our move sets there. So we get a shield advantage, and this is huge. I'm going to now bring in the Alolan Raticate and just use it basically as a damage sponge and save both of my shields for Defenseoxys, because I am expecting, since they brought in a Umbreon, I'm expecting there to be a Mandibuzz in back, because that would make sense. Wobbuffet double dark. So we're going to try to get rid of this Umbreon. I am thinking this return probably is not quite going to KO because Umbreon is also a tanky beast. And sure enough, it doesn't. So what I'm going to do here is build up to the Crunch and then try to snipe with a counter. But the opponent actually had the same idea. He tried to catch our move on the Wobbuffet. But what he's done now is just allow our Defenseoxys to get a huge energy lead. And if there is a Mandibuzz in back, this is going to be absolutely clutch. And sure enough, it's a Mandibuzz. We've got 2 shields. They have 1. And we already are almost at 2 Rock Slides. So this Mandibuzz is about to get destroyed by a Psychic type here. And as you see here, we're already at another Rock Slide. I do continue to overfarm, and I actually do sneak through a counter, so this game is basically over now. I've got so much energy, and the reason I overfarmed there was just to throw on correct timing to not allow the opponent to sneak in an Air Slash. But we're comfortably going to be able to take this thing out. I throw a Rock Slide here, and the opponent's now in another Rock Slide range, so I will farm up a little bit more and throw right before they get to another move. And I was counting during this battle, so what I know is that the opponent is only 1 Air Slash away from another move. So I actually switch, and on the CMP type, throw my move to deny their energy and take this out. So I had a shield anyway, so I didn't necessarily have to do that, but that was just guaranteeing me that win. And then we farm down the Umbreon and back, and that's a good game. So again, double Psychic beating a double Dark backline. Terrible lead in the next match. We safe switch into our softer counter again, which is Defenseoxys. And again, the opponent brings in Drapion, so these Dark Poison types are a bit tricky. And this one actually switched in faster, so if the opponent wants to, he can get off 2 crunches before I get to 2 rock slides, and he does not have to commit a shield in this matchup. So it's a bit tricky, like I said, with the dark poison types, but as you're going to see here, the opponent actually gets scared and shields our rock slide, so that's absolutely huge. He is going to preserve a lot of health, but I'm perfectly fine with a shield advantage. I would actually prefer a shield advantage than the damage, because as you've seen, 2 shield charm Gothitelle can put in a lot of work. So we're bringing back in the Alolan Raticate. We know it doesn't really have a lot of play against that Medicham, so we're just going to use it as a damage sponge, basically. I'm going to be farming up here, and I believe I actually decided just to go straight for the crunch, knowing that if after this lands, I'll probably be able to farm this down with Quick Attack. And as you saw there, this is an Aqua Tail Drapion, so again, we're just not really threatened by their charge moves here. So we're going to farm it all the way down, take another Aqua Tail here, and this Medicham is probably going to be coming back in. So rather than trying to throw a move and risk taking some counter damage, I'm going to just switch into the Gothitelle right away. The Medicham does come back in, and sure enough, there's a Mandibuzz in the back, and 2 shield Gothitelle does not care about Mandibuzz. We're going to have to shield twice, but we're going to come out of this matchup fully farming down the Mandibuzz, and we're going to have a lot of energy to throw the Medicham in back. So as you see there, these charms are adding up quite a bit. Now this is no Shadow Granbull, but these charms are still chunking on a very bulky mon. So again, we're committing the second shield, and we're going to just, instead of throwing any energy, just farm all the way down. And as you see there, we're getting close to 2 moves. So for correct timing, I'll throw 1 charm and throw the Psychic, and I don't think we're in range where any move from this Medicham is going to threaten the KO here. Even if they throw like a dynamic punch, I still think we can tank it. And we are going to get to this next Psychic, I believe, right after this move goes through. And we'll see, it's probably just going to be an Ice Punch, but let's see. And it is the Ice Punch, and it does get us low, but as you see there, we just barely get to the Psychic, and even if we didn't get there, we still had the crunch loaded on our Alolan Raticate, so I think we still would have been okay. But as you see, again, Charm Gothitelle handles those dark types very well. And Defenseoxys put in a lot of work on the safe switch against a dark poison type, so tricky lead here. Galarian Rapidash, what I've noticed, some of them are running Mega Horn, and that can absolutely one-shot pretty much all 3 of our mons. So the nice thing is we do outpace by 1 move, so we will get this crunch off, and I'll probably be safe switching into one of our back mons just in case this is running Play Rough. But again, I'm scared of the Mega Horn, so I think I do commit a shield here, and unfortunately I do Betas with a Body Slam, but then the opponent throws again right away. So now I know this is probably a Play Rough Galarian Rapidash. Otherwise he would have at the very least built up to the Mega Horn, but he doesn't. So he's just looking like he's going to go straight Body Slam here, and I'm perfectly fine with this. I'll take another Body Slam, and I will probably save that last shield for my Defenseoxys, because as you noticed, the opponent is not switching out here after he brought his Psychic type in. And sure enough, it's a Mandibuzz, and this Mandibuzz knows that he does not want to see this Charm Gothitelle. But look at this, we have already gotten this Mandibuzz low, and this Rock Slide goes through, and now this Mandibuzz is at a 3rd health from our Psychic type. So again, you see me do this before. I like to use the Alolan Raticate as like a damage sponge against these bulky types. So we're just going to bring it in, and these bulky types like Mandibuzz just do not hit particularly hard, and Aerial Ace is just honestly a really bad move. So we're going to take another Aerial Ace, I can't even say the word, and we're not even worried about that one bit. Here I actually bring in the Defenseoxys, hoping that I can snipe and farm it down before it gets to another move, but I realized at the last second that he is going to get to a move. He's 1 turn away, so I throw the Rock Slide to basically force him to either shield a low health mon and save the energy, and he decides to just let it go. And there's this Wireless in the back, so we should be fine here. If we can get this shield, I will simply let the Deoxys go down and save that shield for the Alolan Raticate and hit this Wireless with a return. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to let this go, and if it's a Body Slam here, we might be able to get to another Rock Slide. So let's see what the opponent decides to do here. And he's actually running Dragon Pulse, so he sends the Dragon Pulse and takes us out. He tries to make a catch there, but I hold on to my energy. I wasn't at the return anyway, and now we can simply just return this Wireless. Oh no, I actually hit the crunch here. I forgot about this battle. Do we actually lose this game? Crunch barely doesn't KO, but we get the defense drop, and we just barely take it out. Oh my goodness, I was trying to throw that game there, but all I had to do was go for the return, but we clicked the wrong move, but we still win, so good game. Obstagoon in the next battle, and here I actually bring in the Defenseoxys, reading that this is probably the triple counter team. because every time I saw an Obstagoon lead, it was the triple counter team, and typically it was running Defense Deoxys and Medicham in the back. So I bring the Defense Deoxys knowing that with an energy head start, I can comfortably either win switch or get a shield advantage on this mirror match. And if they probably wouldn't have brought their Medicham in here. So the fact that they're bringing in this tells me it is likely a Medicham in the back. And what I'm also realizing is switch advantage is not going to be very useful to me here, because all three of their mons, if this is the triple counter team, will be hitting my Alolan Raticate for super effective damage. So switch advantage doesn't really matter to me, but shield advantage will, because our Gothitel's charm, hopefully it's not a Toxicroak in the back, because that could get a little tricky, but if it's Medicham Obstagoon, our charm is going to be absolutely huge here. So what I need to do is get this shield advantage here, and then save both of my shields for Gothitelle. So as you see, the opponent does take switch, but I'm thinking it's the triple counter team, so I'm just going to bring in the Alolan Raticate here to absorb this damage, knowing that health on my Raticate's really not going to be very useful to me. So we're just going to farm this down, and this one is actually running Thunderbolt, so we tank that, and I'm going to be bringing this Gothitelle right away, and let's see what's in the back. And sure enough, it is the Medicham, so I called the team correctly, and this should help me win this game, because as you see here, these charms are chunking, and this Medicham really doesn't threaten our Gothitelle too much with these moves. So I'll be tanking this first move, probably going to be an Ice Punch, and I believe I probably will shield the second move, just because I want to preserve some health. And I was afraid that, I know I could tank the Ice Punch, but I was afraid that the Obstagoon might be able to counter me down if I were to let that go. Excuse me. So we shield the second Ice Punch, and the Obstagoon's coming back in, but as you see, I am getting pretty close to the double Rock Slide here, so I think I should be able to outpace. So I throw my first Rock Slide, and I'm only one charm away from the next, and I believe the opponent is still 3 counters away from their next Night Slash. So we throw the charm, and sure enough, we do just barely outpace the opponent, and we're going to take this out. And despite having a mon that's double weak to counter, we do take out the triple counter team. Sorry guys, I had an encoding error there, so I had to cut it briefly, but we're back. No battles missed, and I think we've got like maybe 3 or 4 left. So in the next battle here, we've got a Charm Latias on the lead. And I don't want to directly switch out of here, because I know if I bring in my Gothitelle right away, he's just going to switch out. And Deoxys doesn't have a great 2-shield matchup here, so I chip first, and he actually shields, which is perfect. And now I'll bring in the Defense Deoxys, knowing that Latias pretty much only has nukes here, so we will be outpacing this to the Rock Slide. And Rock Slide probably will nearly KO here, so we might actually be getting the second shield. And we do get the second shield, and the opponent's still staying in. So this is making me think the opponent probably has multiple Charmers. If they're committing both shields on their lead Charmer, this very well could be a double, maybe even triple Charm team. And sure enough, we see the Wobbuffet come in, and now I'm almost positive this is going to be a triple Charm. So what I'm hoping is that this back Charmer is going to be a Gallade, because typically when you're running triple Charm, the most common triple Charm teams I've seen have a Shadow Latias and a Shadow Gallade on the same team. So we're going to stay in here against this Wobbuffet, and these Rock Slides just do an embarrassingly small amount of damage. But I'm realizing that I need this Raticate in against the Wobbuffet, because there's no way I'd have gotten to a move against any of the Shadow Charmers. Because again, even though Charm is super effective, it doesn't do that much. So this allows me to get my super effective move off and get some very much needed damage on this very bulky Wobbuffet. So now I believe I do come back in with a Deoxys, knowing that I should just barely be able to get to a move. And the opponent actually brings back in the Latias, and I think I panicked there and I threw the Psycho Boost. I could have just thrown the Rock Slide, but it doesn't really matter, because we're actually going to get one extra fast move head start on this whatever's in the back because of that. So this is fine. It ended up working out just fine. They're not going to be able to bring the Wobbuffet back in, and they're taking a while to switch in, so I already am thinking this is going to be a Shadow Gallade, and sure enough, there's the Shadow Gallade, and Shadow Gallade does not like to see charms, and we're going to fully charm it down, and we're going to come out with nearly a Rock Slide loaded, and we're going to take out this Wobbuffet. So very good game. We just saw the triple counter team, and now we've seen a triple charm team, and I think that really sums up the current meta we're seeing, guys. Just very crazy, not very diverse. Lots of people running just some very tap teams, and you know what? Nothing wrong with that, especially not because this was Go Battle Day. But anyway, we saw his Wildlet's on the lead, and we switched into our Defense Deoxys there, and the opponent actually responds with a Mandibuzz, so this is perfect. And Defense Deoxys with an energy lead can very easily handle this Mandibuzz. And we actually are going to be able to win the 0 shield here now if the opponent decides not to commit shields. Typically, we would just barely lose the 0 shield, but since the opponent gave us an energy lead, we should be able to take this here. So let's see what they decide to do. We're over farming just to throw in correct timing. And I do believe that if the opponent lets this go, we should be able to counter down before they get to another move. And sure enough, we do just barely counter down. And now we have switch advantage, so this is big. So we're going to be able to align our Charmer onto this Wireless in. I panic again and I throw the Psycho Boost. I could have just gone for the Rock Slide there, but I knew it didn't really matter because the Charms are going to do so much here. Still would have been nice to get that Rock Slide off, but you never know. Sometimes I probably just didn't think I was going to get there. But they actually have a Rapidash in the back, so this is not what I was hoping to see. I bring in the Raticate here basically just to use it as a meat shield. I know our poor Raticate has been used as a meat shield a lot in this game, but this one's actually running Megahorn, and like I said, there are some ones out there running Megahorn, but unfortunately it actually doesn't KO, and all that did is just give the opponent more farm. So I realized here I may have to call a bait to win this game. Maybe not, but at the time I was thinking the opponent might be able to get to a Megahorn if I shielded a Body Slam, and then this Wireless might have been able to get to a Dark Pulse, but as you see there, I think I probably could have just shielded and just easily farmed both of them down, but you know what? I wanted to win with 2 shields, and the opponent wanted to lose with 2 shields, so we'll take that. Anyway, Gothitelle in the next battle, and we are going to be switching out of here, but I want to either get a shield or do big damage on this first. So let's see what the opponent decides to do here. I am expecting a shield, but the opponent actually let it go. I was really surprised. So now I'm going to bring in the Deoxys and try to farm down, and they switch into an Overquill here. So I did see a team similar to this before. A Charm on the lead with a double Dark Poison backline. So I'm expecting there to be another Dark Poison in the back. And since they switched an Overquill here, I'm thinking it's probably going to be a Galarian or Hisuian, I think it's Hisuian Quillfish. So here I call an Aqua Tail, knowing the opponent has to throw a big move to take me out, and he doesn't. And since it's a CMP tie, he's now going to be forced to burn a shield here or potentially give a switch advantage. And he burns a shield, and that's actually what I'd prefer, because if it's another Dark Poison in the back, switch isn't really going to be very important to me, but shields on my Gothitelle is going to be important. So I will let this go, and the opponent wasn't able to farm down there. They actually had to throw another move, and again, here comes the Raticate, just going to be a meat shield. Poor little Raticate. But you know what? Somebody's got to be the meat shield, and Raticate's doing the job just fine. So I bring in the Gothitelle, and unfortunately, I was not able to snipe. They do get a move off. I should probably have saved the shield, because if my call was correct and there is another Dark Poison in the back, which as you're going to see, there is another Dark Poison in the back, it would have been really nice to have that 2 shield. But then again, if I don't shield that, the opponent may just be able to Poison Jab me down. So maybe I had to shield it, but either way, I think that we're going to have to call another Aqua Tail bait to win this game. And we do call it. So as you see, it was very risky, but I think, again, if I would have shielded an Aqua Tail, the opponent would have gotten to a big move and taken me out. So we actually shielded, we called 2 Aqua Tail baits in one match. So the opponent liked to bait there, and it did not pay off for him. So we're going to take this game. The Overquill is at 1 HP in the back, and nice play to the opponent there, but you know, baiting is just such a hard game, and sometimes you don't win the bait game. So a Shadow Drapion in the next match, and this thing is very, very scary. I believe this actually might be the last battle as well. And the opponent does a very nice job here, as you're going to see. I build up to the return, and the opponent actually throws on the CMP. However, I know I can tank any move pretty comfortably here. And I think the opponent will probably have to respect the return, because a return will definitely be one-shotting a Shadow Drapion. So I actually go for the bait with that in mind. And the opponent does shield, and we get the defense drop. So now what I'm realizing is the opponent knows his counts. So he will likely just CMP time me again to the next return. So I throw my Crunch right away, and since it was a debuffed Crunch, that does a lot of damage. So, and we actually get another defense drop, so the opponent's forced to shield, or excuse me, the forced to throw, or he might have gotten quick attacked down there. And as you noticed there, the opponent actually threw an Aqua Tail on my Raticate. So this is a Sludge Bomb Aqua Tail Drapion. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but what that does is it allows our Defense Deoxys to tank that move and not have to shield, because a Shadow Crunch would have definitely had to be shielded. And they've got another Shadow Dark Poison. So you already know what team this is. This is going to be a triple Dark Poison team, and this is very scary for our team, but the opponent let that Rock Slide go, and now I'm thinking, this charm damage is going to be absolutely clutch. Because since he allowed that to go through, I think if it's another glassy dark poison in the back, which it is in Quillfish, we might be able to get this thing extremely low with charm. Unfortunately, we got defense dropped from that crunch, and now an Aqua Tail is probably nearly going to KO here, which is very unfortunate. And we do just barely survive it, and I'm able to get to my move. So this is big. I think that my Defense Deoxys just may be able to clutch this end game out for us. Let's see. I know he's going to get to an Aqua Tail. I'm going to have to shield, but I know here that I have to commit to the Rock Slide because that Shadow Skunk Tank still has a little bit of health. So if I Psycho Boost here, I know my counters aren't going to be able to KO. So I farm up to the Rock Slide. I need this to KO, and I need my counters to barely KO this Skunk Tank. Let's see what happens. And sure enough, 3 counters, and we live on 1 HP, and we beat the triple Dark Poison team, excuse me. So very close game. And I guess that wasn't the last battle. This is the last battle for sure. But yeah, that triple Dark Poison team, guys, that's part of the reason why I stopped using this team, because it's very difficult to beat. And we saw a Shadow Gallade on that lead, and then they brought in a Zweilous to our Defense Deoxys, so it appears they don't have a great response. And I'm more than happy here to either take switch or get a shield advantage. And since the opponent let that go, I probably will commit a shield, yeah, and I do here, and I probably will just take switch advantage here. And I know that Shadow Gallade's probably not going to want to come in because we've got a lot of energy. And Shadow Gallade does not like to take moves, but they actually do come back in with it. So I bait with a Rock Slide here, knowing that I could probably get to this next Psycho Boost here. And you'll see me make a very interesting play here. So what I do here, I'm going to actually pause just for a second so you guys can see. I had the Psycho Boost there, but I decided not to throw it because I wanted to get, let's rewind it just briefly. I wanted to get myself lower because what I didn't want to do is throw my Psycho Boost and then have their Backmon come in and farm me down and get a nice energy lead. So my plan was here to throw right before I go down, but what we actually do is we scare the opponent and he actually throws his energy. So I'm actually more than happy for him to throw his energy here because I'd rather have a shield for my Gothitelle, and I know that I would have to shield that Leaf Blade if we let the Gallade take us out. So as you're going to see, a 0 shield Gothitelle would get destroyed here, but since we still have a shield, we're going to be able to put in some work against this Galarian Rapidash. I do bring in the Raticate. I tried to catch a Body Slam, but I was a little off, and now I'm thinking I kind of have to save the shield, and the opponent does play rough me here, and that does KO me. But this thing is just so spammy, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to take it out now. Galarian Rapidash is just very, very spammy, and it can be difficult to beat. And as you're going to see here, we're going to take this out, but the Shadow Gallade still has some health, and I need this 1 charm to KO. Otherwise, I think, yeah, we're going to tie, and we tie that game. So very, very close. So as you can see, some really nice battles, some nice plays. The double Dark Poison and the triple Dark Poison can be tricky for this team, but I think overall these Psychic types in the back are very strong, very versatile, and as you see, they put in a lot of work against Dark types and Fighting types. So that being said, if you guys are enjoying this content, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like and a comment, but definitely subscribe to the channel because, as you know, the more subscribers we get, the more Pokemon my wife will let me play.